What's going on, boys? Today we're talking a bit about how FE feels. At least to me with FE inferior. First and foremost, FE feels like pressured awareness. In socialization, there are social scripts, and while you see them most heavily in TE types, at least in the I say this, you say that, trying to live your life as a movie scene socialization and thinking that's all there is. With FE, there is an awareness those scripts are scripts. When someone says A to you, you know they are expecting you or leading you to say B. For example, you are aware of what's supposed to come next. You either fill it in yourself or you don't fill it in but know it's supposed to be filled in, and you probably fill it in your head and think about why it wasn't filled in. Either way, you are aware you've been prompted. With FE in socialization, when someone prompts you, you either react the way they want you to react, or you react the way they want you to react by not reacting, but being aware you were prompted. It's like when you're in a good mood and someone asks you why you're mad. You know exactly what they're doing, but your options are engage and let them ruin your mood, or don't engage and let them ruin your mood. An enviable aspect of FI, coming from the FE perspective, is not being as affected by that kind of prompting, because with FI, you're setting the prompts. Now, noticing prompts for prompts is the mechanical side of FE, or a mechanical side. Another side is the degree to which people can affect your emotions. If someone comes in with a bad mood, you perform a quick assessment and determine this is a bad mood we can't help this person with. They're going to stay in a bad mood and they're going to stay around you with a bad mood. That bad mood affects you, especially if it has nothing to do with you, because there are two urges. One, you navigate their bad mood like a minefield because you don't want them to take it out on you, because that would affect you negatively, and just the threat or the idea of them taking out their bad mood on you is already affecting you negatively. Or you mirror them, escalate that bad mood, and turn it into a conflict, motivated by feeling bad, stressed, annoyed, angry they put you in that situation in the first place. Again, neither option is good, but in both cases you are responding to another human's prompting. Even if you pretend it isn't happening, you are aware enough you have to pretend. And that can work with positive moods, but not exactly, and I have a feeling it's because of FE inferior, at least in my case. If someone comes up to you with a good mood, you are aware they are expecting you to maintain their good mood. You feel a pressure, and then you either mirror them regardless of how you feel, or you react negatively because they are pressuring you. Patrice had an entire bit about this. Good morning, how are you? Nice day, huh? It's 6 in the morning. I'm tired. I don't want to be here. Don't invade my emotional space with your happy horseshit. Don't pressure me to be phony right now. When an FE type who feels they're supposed to maintain another person's mood, the way I feel most of the time, you feel pressured to mirror them regardless of how you feel. An FE type who doesn't will respond negatively, but it will be a response. FE isn't good or bad on its own. It is a source of pressure. How someone responds to that pressure is up to them. But that mirroring instinct goes even further. It isn't just on a moment-to-moment basis. I think it's instinctual because you will pick up small, advantageous blending in behaviors. For instance, I was around a guy a lot who breathed and walked weird. After a while, I noticed when I was around him, I mirrored the way he breathed and walked. It was unconscious. When I noticed it, I was weirded out and was wondering how long I'd been doing that before I noticed. Or another example, I am back in a low-income, stupid, white environment. When I'm out, I adopt my southern drawl involuntarily. It just happens. However, unlike the breathing and walking thing, when I try not to use the southern drawl around rednecks, that pressure comes back up and it feels almost threatening, like you are putting yourself in danger for not using your southern drawl, for not mirroring them in that way. And I think that's when it starts getting aggravating. FE can make you internalize cultural pressure while you're aware it is a pressure. And that's when mirroring can take a particularly negative turn. I've seen this in other FE types. Negative mirroring. You get sick of a pressure, so then you mirror that pressure and escalate it past the acceptable or expected level and make other people uncomfortable. At which point, you're making other people uncomfortable, i.e., in doing what they're doing to show why it's bad and why they should stop, you become a target. At which point, you've encountered the next pressure barrier. You're not just feeling pressured to do or not to do something, you are feeling pressured not to do something too much. You're double phony, all while people don't care what you are or how you're feeling. TE looks a lot different in these moments. You either do what your culture expects you to do, or you do the complete opposite. Like with social scripts, TE gets out the book of how each sort of social interaction is supposed to go, and they seem not to realize they're doing it. FE types might not realize exactly what they're doing, but they do feel that pressure. I've stated all these points about FE like they're negatives, but they aren't. They can be positive. For instance, FI types, who are the statistical majority, especially around money, don't realize they are prompting. They want to surround themselves with FI types whose values align with theirs. However, if you're an FE type, you can adapt to that prompting, if you don't mind putting aside how you feel and what you think. FE, even in the inferior position, gives you a near immediate, clean read on what people want. And that read becomes cleaner and more specific the more time you spend around them. You know within the first 20 seconds of a conversation the kind of person this person wants. It's in the way they dress, the way their eyes look, the way they speak their words, the words they use, everything. Then you learn their baseline mood and contrast that against their elevated states. And then, like clockwork, you can get them angry, happy, or sad about things just by hitting them with different ideas and then accommodating that state once you've achieved it. For instance, your partner is upset, base mood. That mood is developing into anger because they feel they have no power over their work situation, so they're beginning to take it out on you. You know if you say that's what they're doing, they are only going to get angrier. So you instead bring up one of their self-soothing stories. Self-soothing stories are stories like pacifiers, stories people tell themselves when they're upset to feel better. Well, from what you're telling me, what's happening sounds like, oh god, there was that story you told me about how this was happening and then you did this and you fixed everything. At which point their stupid mood changes. They pick up the baton, they retell the story, they feel good about themselves, they feel more confident about what's happening and what they're going to do, and they like you more for remembering that story at all and bringing it up now and helping them feel better. That's phony because your mind is on the analysis and you're frustrated with them for putting that anger on you that you have nothing to do with, but FE gives you a clean readout on what's wrong and how to fix it if you're willing to put what you think and feel aside. Now, doing that will make you feel a variety of not good emotions and will, in my experience, at least inside, create a divide between you and the people you're using these readouts on. But the readouts are effective if you care only about results. And again, you don't need to know someone well to use these readouts. All you need to know is the sort of person they are. Which is one of the reasons if you want to type someone or work with someone, you need to be able to look them in the face. Example, sorts of people. You're at a job interview. There is a fat old bald guy behind the desk who sounds like a preacher. If you're an FE type, that right there should be enough. You see a photo of his family on his desk. You ask him how old his kids are now. So he starts telling you about how great his kids are and how his wife is still at home. They tell you what they want to see. So you tell a story about how your mother didn't want kids and how that changed for the better. Well, that's terrific. Women are supposed to have kids, and I'm glad your mother has seen the light. I'm sure she's proud of you. Well, sir, I hope so. She wanted me to be a lawyer, not a lawyer, but I'm set on this field, and I hope I can do right by my family with this. Now, none of those aspects are lies. I've found FE is most effective as a tool when you're using truths, but the way you've deployed those truths changes everything. Your core narrative, the series of facts, is the same, but you've catered that narrative to someone else's prompting for effect. And you don't need to know that person on a personal level at all to do that. That's why FE is overpowered if you can master it. The sole hiccup is the internal rot you feel when you have to do that constantly. When you're always catering facts to people. One of the weirdest aspects of MBTI to me is FJ work ethic. Most FJs I've met have incredible work ethics, but low ambition. They'll do and say things they don't want to do to make money, but they're better at it. Compare them against TPs, particularly TPs in law. They hate it. There comes a point money can't buy that phoniness. And that doesn't apply to all FJs and TPs, that aspect of FE, but it's happened enough, I need to mention it. One final and weird aspect of FE I need to mention, at least in regard to TPs. TPs almost never put themselves in another person's shoes. FI types relate to people by putting themselves in someone's shoes, but they put themselves in that person's shoes. ENFPs, God bless their souls for study, always relate to people by saying, if I were in your position, I would feel like this. And then I would do that. They are looking at someone's situation or emotional state by standing where that person is standing, but reviewing things with their own eyes. If they would feel bad in your situation, they will accommodate you as if you were them, even if you don't feel bad. If they don't relate to where you're coming from, they have no empathy, no sympathy at all, even if your situation is bad. FE types don't do that, and it's easiest to see in TPs. In fact, I think there might be an aversion to it. I and a number of other ITPs I've spoken with have the feeling it's arrogant to presume to know a person's situation just by imagining it from their perspective, and you shouldn't do it at all. However, all FE operates from is reactions. People's actions and your reactions to their actions. Let's go back to that your partner is mad at you over stuff you have nothing to do with at work example. We know the anger is coming from a different place, but we're feeling where you're directing the anger right now, which is at us. An FI type might put themselves in your shoes, see where you're coming from, and immediately go into empathy mode. The FE type will fix the anger, but they'll develop their own anger simmering underneath because of where you directed that anger. We're seeing the signals you're sending out, not your internal reasoning for sending out those signals. Even if we know why you're sending out those signals, we have not moved our position anywhere near yours. Now, there's a method for fixing that that never works, but with the right people it will. If you are in an emotive state, asking an FE type, how would you feel if you were in my position? Now, again, that won't work if the FE type isn't receptive, but if they are, they will look at things from your perspective. But, unlike FI types, they'll be looking at your position through your eyes, or what they know your eyes to be. Let's say you got beaten up in a blue room as a kid, and now the color blue makes you angry. At work, people are painting the walls blue despite your protests. The FE type might have no problem with the color blue, but they know you do. You ask them to put themselves in your position and ask them how they would feel, and then they'll look at your situation as if they hated the color blue the way you do. Of course you'd be mad. So mad that anger might leak out into places it shouldn't, in ways it shouldn't. How couldn't it? And then you get real FE empathy, which is the same as phony FE empathy, except now it's coming from a good place and won't bubble into something else. The actions are the same, but the feelings inside change from, alright, dickhead, let's clean up your mess and get this over with, to, oh, you poor thing, it's going to be okay. If you're dealing with an FE type and want them to like you, be someone they can be real with without needing FE operating at all times. In doing that, they'll feel a lot better, and you'll get to enjoy positive FE much more. But that about rippity wraps this one up. I hope you enjoyed watching, because I certainly enjoyed making it. Like if you enjoyed, because it helps me out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't, because we do this shit sometimes. And comment your thoughts, because I love hearing from you. What are your thoughts about FE? Pressure. Other FE things. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Really, we have a lot of fun on this channel. So much fun, in fact, you can cut it up and eat it with raw garlic and burn your mouth out for abominable strength. That's how much fun we have on this channel, and I look forward to doing this with you guys again in the future.